Hey, hello everyone. I gotta show you guys this hand axe that I finished forging. I did most of the metal work last night, and today I did the assembly. I built this with basically with leftover material that I had from my poleaxe building uh, project, and I posted a video on this. This thing is awesome. I am planning to do this one again because there's a bunch of things I learned while building this one that I want to basically I want to build a second one with those things in mind. So like this thing over here, like finding a good poleaxe is anywhere from like $600 like at the cheapest to like I see them as expensive as $1,500 and even more expensive. Okay, so the cool thing about forging is you can make your own weapons. So I had some leftover material from that project, and I built this using the same design, where basically you've got langets on the shaft here, right? So this piece here is riveted onto the wood, right? I've grounded down the rivets so that I can't feel them, but if you look closer, you'll see the rivets over there, right? So this piece here, which is like an eighth, almost like an eighth of an inch thick on both sides. So that's like a quarter inch of steel total supporting the shaft over here. And then the axe head goes on top, and then this strap here, which is also an eighth of an inch thick, basically goes over the top and holds it in place. And what it is, I put a little piece of leather in between to kind of act as a cushion, because what happened is, like, when I fitted these together, and I had clamped it down, there was like it wouldn't fall out, but there was like a tiny little bit of wiggle room. So what I did is I put a tiny, like, thin piece of leather in between, compressed it this way, and then passed the rivet through, and this thing is like solid. So I didn't need to do it on this one over here, even though after having hit, in the video I was like beating up on barrels. This hasn't moved. I think on the next one I'm probably also going to add that little piece of lever just for over a long period of time. I think it's like a little extra insurance to have. I mean, it doesn't cost anything. It's a really thin piece of leather. So yeah, I'm probably going to use that technique also on my next poleaxe. So I gotta tell you guys, I love this design. Okay, one of the most annoying things with most of these hand tools, right? This is like a like a wood cutting axe. I mean, this is the style where you have an eye in the axe and the wood comes through. And I've got probably I only have a handful here, but I probably have at least another 10 or 15 of these axes and hammers where this has like that wedge design, and you can see how that comes loose. Okay, so this is a horrible design. Like, I would tell people, never buy a hammer or a hand axe that's basically wood running through the inside of a an eye, right? The only type that seems to work is the modern design, where you've got some type of epoxy here that basically glues this thing together. But if I'm not going to use that, I think this is the best design with the strap that comes over the top. And the key to this is that these rivets over here, they don't just go through the wood. Okay, they go through the steel here. See this steel over here that's on the shaft? So this metal here is riveted to the shaft, and it runs all the way to the top. Okay, so what's going on here is these rivets aren't just passing through the wood; they're passing through this metal over here. Okay, so even if I were to like to set this thing on fire and burn out this wood, okay, or if this wood were to crush in here, the steel is actually holding this in place, right? Because that's attached to the steel, and these rivets are steel rivets. So the interesting thing about steel rivets is they're very hard. I mean, they're much harder than aluminum rivets or copper rivets. So when I hammer these rivets in place, they not only mushroom on the outer side, but they actually mushroom on the inside. So it mushrooms both on top, on both sides here, but also on the inside where the wood is. So that's why I say, like, even if I was to put this, like, you know, in a fire and burn this wood out, this rivet would basically hold this piece in place because the rivet has mushroomed both on on the outside and on the inside. So this is a really solid design. So initially, when I made this wood was a little bit longer. It was about this long, and I was playing around with it a little bit. So when it was a little bit longer, I felt that it was kind of like crappy for a short two-handed axe. So that's why I cut it, because for a one-handed axe, this thing's really good. Okay, this thing, so it made a lot more sense to make this a one-handed axe versus a two-handed axe, because this having another foot behind it is never going to be able to compete with something like this. Okay, so it made sense to go with the one-handed axe. Okay? So yeah, drop some comments. I've been doing a lot of forging lately. The nice thing about forging, where basically blacksmithing, is you get to make your own weapons. Okay, so that's a cool thing to do. So anyway, drop some comments, and I'll talk to you all soon.